Welcome to another episode of StateSideReds. Sorry for the busted voice. I've been sick this weekend. Manchester United won, Arsenal won. But before we get talking about that, what we're going to talk about is the Sir Jim interview today. And also, welcome to Frank, aka Mr. Green. Welcome on for the first time today. I'll start with you, Casey. What was your thoughts on the interview?
Casey,
Mikey. Sorry, I've been sick, man. Like, you can hear I'm sick. Like, I've been running around all day. Mikey, what was your thoughts on the interview?
I was like, damn, where is Casey back in the States? Shouts to Casey. Real quick, I just want a quick shout out to Brewhouse, the #1 soccer pub in the United States, as voted by NBC. That's the second or the first supporters club for Manchester United ATL. That's also my family over there. So shouts to everybody involved making me this fly shirt. I got some stuff on the back. And yeah, it was good. I spent some time with them for the Arsenal game. There's some real Arsenal fans in there. It was kind of crazy, but it was good. Thoughts on the game. So I still don't know how bad or good we are yet, because it just seems like, and I know why, but it just seems like we get up and go an extra gear for these better teams, right? Now, it's based on how they play, right? They go after us. We're okay to sit deep and take the ball when we can. But in the second half, there was an actual difference. The difference was we went after them. We smelled blood in the water and went after them. We got high up in the first half, that back line, not passing the halfway line for nothing. They just wouldn't. They would set up 10 and 15 yards behind, just waiting for the counter, right? Waiting for letting them have the ball, letting them just horseshoe it around. And that's what they did. They kind of played like how we do against lower tier sides, right? Second half, we got up on the halfway line, recycled possession. Now, we didn't have that much more possession than the first half, but we started getting a decent amount of possession afterwards, even though they had, I think at the end of the day, they end up having like 60-some odd percent possession. They should. They're a better team. They're in Champions League playing every week. They just battered a team 7-1. They're second best team in England and probably a top 5 team in Europe. So it's expected. We went toe to toe with them in the second half, and we had the better amount of chances. They missed a sitter. Ain't got nothing to do with us. Has nothing to do with us. Take your chances as you get them. We had a definitely crazy amount of chances that were blown, and we made a good account of ourselves. Everybody on the pitch made a good account of themselves. I think Eriksen struggled a bit. Onana handle his business. That goal going in really didn't have nothing to do with him. He came out and punched the ball. I gotta say, nobody's saying anything about that, but we'll ride him when he doesn't do it. But he's doing it all this entire game. Once again, showing up when it matters. You got to do this all the time, though, in order to get the praise. So I understand that. And yeah, these guys could this is good momentum going into Sociedad or back to Old Trafford.
Yeah, Frank, what was your thoughts on the game?
That first half, neither side impressed me too much. I thought our defensive structure was really good. They were tight, cohesive. I can agree with Mikey. The second half, complete difference. To me, I'm a little more critical of Eriksen. I don't even think he's a Premier League player anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
I go back to the Ipswich game. It was terrible. He was giving up on balls. He literally backed off a couple balls and let the the Fulham players have it. I just, agree with Onana. Wow. And David Raya saved Arsenal.
Wow.
In that second half.
As I said to everyone at the bar, that guy is a cat. Like, he's a human cat.
That double save that he made, was it off
end?
Fernandez's shot, and then the ball was spinning and going back in, and he got up in like half a second, swatted it away. It was, but the second half was beautiful to watch. It absolutely was.
Yeah, for me, it was, Onana did well. He saved what he needed to do. De Ligt was solid again for me, as always. And then midfield lacked. We lacked in midfield, but that can also be put down to how, as Amorim came out and said in his interview, he changed his tactics to kind of win a game. He obviously with the big teams, they press high, so they're vulnerable for the counter attack. We have faster players to run down the wings. Surely missed Ahmed yesterday. I think he would have been a big difference yesterday. Pretty much Garnacho. I got to call out Garnacho. What a performance! It's probably his best performance since Amorim's come in. But I'm not sure about the reports, but it may be because he's talking to Atletico Madrid. But for me, the only Eriksen, okay, for me, he really shouldn't be playing, but it's kind of, we're stuck in that situation now. Like as we said in the interview today, if you look at the bench, there's just nobody on that bench. You know what I mean? So you got to put experienced players out there, especially against Arsenal. The biggest disappointment for me again is Rasmus Højlund. You talked about the shot from Bruno at the end. I don't understand. Like Mikey, I don't know if you've seen the video I sent earlier where he just jogged back. It was on the break for that goal. He got the ball, he passed it, and he just jogged back. Any given striker sits on that penalty spot at that situation and heads that ball right into the back of the net because he gets there before Ray does. But no, we have Collier. As Collier was the closest person to the ball, who's a CDM. It's disappointing to me for a striker. Yeah. I don't understand why he came on and not Obi Mine. You're talking about a young guy who did well in his last game, who has a point to prove against Arsenal. So just signing from Arsenal would have been a better option. But you can clearly see Rasmus is disappointed. I don't know if you've seen the interview with Peter Schmeichel. Not an interview. There's a video going around with him outside the stadium with Peter Schmeichel. And you can clearly see that he looks visibly upset. The fans are trying to cheer him on, trying to give him support. But, that's just my take on the again, Rasmus. And right now, it seems mental with him. It really does. Like, he's in that situation where Rasmus isn't like, I haven't scored a goal in 21 games. Where's it going to come from?
Not doing anything right.
He's not. Like, yeah.
The Fulham game I'm watching, I think it was 𝗈𝗏 got the ball with about 40 yards out, and Rasmus is already running to the far post. Like, where are you going? You're the guy that has to come across the 18, receive the ball, and then let your midfielders and your outside wing back be the far post guys.
Yeah, because by doing that, you're dragging the defender out of position to allow the midfielders to be in the position to have an open shot.
Exactly. If you notice 𝗕𝗍, he played the lone man up front. He actually made some angled runs and got the balls out on the side.
Yeah, I think 𝗕𝗍's been great in that.
The only sad part about those runs is that, like, his pace out there is a detriment to what we can end up doing with the width that we have once we're in those positions, right? Because there's a couple times he got onto the ball, he did a knock on, and like he knocked the ball faster than he could ever get it. He was never gonna get those balls. But I will say, what he makes up for it's not really pace, right? Like, he is slow, but he has length. Pause. But he has length, so he can get there, but he's just not beating anybody for it. So yeah, I definitely saw that a couple times. I think he had a really good game. I called him a bum in November, but he pulled a Harry Maguire. He's showing that, hey, there's a player here. I think there's more of a chance for him here than Rasmus. However, I'm not gonna jump on Rasmus too much because he's also a child. Rasmus is a child, and I think we put all this expectation on him to be this. Then he turned around and gave us 16 goals in 43 games, right? Which is a good number, a good account of yourself at 21 or whatever the case may be. And he's just not doing it now in his sophomore season. But it's also like he shouldn't be the one leading the line at Man United. He just should never have been put in that position. Should have never gave him. We probably won't meet the 70 million now, but we should never paid that high. We bought into the hype a little bit. And Sir Jim has said it. We pay the players make too much money. Rasmus one of them. Yeah, makes way too much money.
No, I agree. I think next year, I think a loan is a good option for him. The only reason I say that is, one, you go away from Old Trafford, go get some experience somewhere else other than Atlanta. But you also got to remember Obi's coming up, so you can't take away from his development.
We don't want him in Atlanta.
No, not Atlanta. Send him to Atlanta. He can't be any worse than the players that you got already. But yeah, no, I just send him out on loan. You know what I mean? and just get some of that confidence back next year, and then develop Obi. It looks like quite a few players are going to be leaving this summer. As Ratcliffe said today, and we're going to jump on that now. The Ratcliffe interview, he said that we're going to spend this summer. So one thing that shook me today with that interview and talking about spending is the fact that we owe $89 million without signing anybody this summer. Previous transfers, yeah. We're still paying for Sancho. We're still paying for Jadon Sancho, and he's a Chelsea player. Insane. But the 25 million we're gonna get from him, we can discount that now. That's probably gonna go towards paying off of his debt. What's your kind of thoughts on that, Frank? Owing 89 million before signing anyone this summer.
I struggle with it. And I think the people that gave these contracts out, ludicrous. Like Casemiro, I don't even know what you do with him at this point in time. As a human being, like he kind of showed some heart in the last game. But for me, you know what? Okay, I take my lumps. Maybe Man United isn't for me. I move on. I go play somewhere else. Rashford, there's no coming back for him. And these are all huge bills that we're going to be stuck with, right? So at the end of the day, yeah, we're going to make some signings, but like we talked about earlier, I don't think they're going to be the big splashy ones.
Yeah.
They're going to be more of the Dorgu. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The 20 to 30 million. And I think we're going to be improved next year, like I've said on chats and previous shows, drastically improved. And I really hope they give Amorim the 2-year project, because I think in 2 years he can sort it out. Like the Dominic Leon, the fella from Paraguay, that signing is a 1-2 year project signing. Dorgu, that's not saying they're not going to have to go out and get some tested, proven, like if they go out and get a Gyökeres, awesome. But if you don't, what's your backup plan? Osimhen, fantastic talent. I've been watching a lot of highlights of him lately. The natural skill is unbelievable there. If they can get him on the cheap, go for it, right? And I've said before, if you can get 50 million for Garnacho, take it and run. Take it and run, because he's not showing me special.
No, other than today, he hasn't really shown me a lot. And we get on Rasmus, man. Like Garnacho hasn't scored since November. So, Mikey, what's your kind of thoughts on owing 89 million before, like talking close to 100 million here before we even sign anybody?
I think it's insane, but it just goes to show the neglect and the mismanagement and the straight up just criminal behavior of the Glazers. But it's like, we know this now, right? We know this. We know these guys don't give a damn about us. They take dividends. They hardly put anything else back into other than the loan payment that they have to make, and that loan payment doesn't go to anything but interest. So they're really just putting $5 towards the $100,000 student loan every month just to keep the account active. And yeah, we know they're bad. I think it's what I will say about that interview is that I think he answered pretty well. He wasn't going to go against the Glazers ever, right? I don't think he was a real politician in this. He answered it really well. He was pretty honest, and I think Gary did go after him a bit, but I do feel like Gary is the wrong guy to be asking these questions. He's a company man.
Yeah.
He's a part of what they have going on. You need somebody that's in the middle, that has no dog in the fight, you're asking Gary, who's been a part of the club for 25 years, right? He's on the regeneration project. He owns hotel football across the street. Like, there's a lot of vested interest. He did go pretty hard on the Glazers, I will say, and he has been in the past, but he's not the guy that I would summon to ask these questions. It wouldn't be a Piers Morgan type either.
Yeah.
All right, or anybody from the 1958. I wouldn't ask them. It would be somebody more, just not a player, not an ex-player, not somebody with a stake in Man United, and not somebody that wants the ownership out or really cares enough. But interesting interview. And a good bit of news for today.
Yeah, news. We haven't actually haven't asked this question here. You've asked it to Mikey. Who are the most likely players that you see going this summer?
Lindelof, gone for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
Johnny.
uh, Evans, yeah. Erickson, I think he's done after this year anyway. Like his contract,
Yeah,
um, gone. Are we talking about the loanees as well? Like Rashford, gone. Anthony, I don't care what he does in Spain. He's got to go. Um, yeah, Casemiro, buy him out. Buy him out. Your debt servicing 35 million a year, whatever it takes to buy out Casemiro, buy him out. Right. The way I see it is if you sell Rashford for 40 million and you buy out Casemiro, you're breaking even.
yeah. Because I didn't
Um,
realize this till earlier till you told me. I only thought it was like 20 million extra. Frank corrected me that if we sell Rashford at 40, we get like 120. You get triple the amount
Mm.
that you're able to spend because it's a homegrown talent. Jonathan Thompson saying, "Who's gone? Easier to say who stays. To be honest."
This is our resident Liverpool fan.
Yeah. No, it's I'm excited. For me, I think Garnacho. I think he goes. I really do. The Atletico and Napoli talks last summer are just too big. It's clearly that we're open to selling him, and if we can get 50 million for him, that's 150 million able to spend.
I
You know,
agree. Um,
and I would love to see some. It really does look like Mainu's going too. There's a high possibility Mainu goes this summer because there's talks already that of 60 million to go. And again, guess what that is? That's 60 million times 3.
would you
Um,
guys be really upset if he went?
yeah, I would be upset because I feel he could be a good talent. But it seems like he wants to go. United are not in a position to offer him what he wants, and it's sad to say that we're going to lose a player that could be a great player. But if we do sell him, there's got to be one or two things in there. It's got to be a massive sell-on fee, and two, a buyback clause. So those
I
are the two options. If he goes that's what I would stick in. Mikey, what's your thoughts on Mainu probably, leaving?
So I reread that article, and the guy who initially posted the article said that he got it from somewhere else, and that like it's a lot of could and maybe, right? I still think is what you do when you want a new contract. You state, "Hey, this is what I want to do. I got a year left till we have to sit down and make these kind of we have to sit down and get to ink on paper. I'm gonna play into it. I'm going to show you he's betting on himself by doing so. Now, do I think it's a lot of money? Absolutely. I don't, but I also think that somebody has to get that money. We're going to
Yeah.
have to start paying guys because the market dictates it as such. We're giving guys with our prior, even Ineos guys, we're giving some guys on this team that don't even play massive amounts of money. And he's seeing that. He's seeing it. And he's like, I want some of that too. Now, is he worth 180,000 a week? Probably not. But I'm not mad at the ask. I would hate for him to leave, but if we can't afford him, we just can't afford him. And there's nothing you can do there.
Me and Frank were actually saying this before the show. One thing is actually, and you're like this, Mr. Jonathan Thompson, is I actually do respect what Liverpool have done in the past. When you're looking at people like Diego Jota, you brought in these players that were 30, $40 million players on 100 grand a week. Yeah, you did spend 75 million on Van Dijk. Yeah, you did spend 85 on a bus striker in Nunes, who's probably going to leave in the summer. But you were able to do that by buying the low end players. I don't think anybody that we buy this summer or next summer comes in at more than 140, 150 grand a week. Would you agree with that, Frank?
I absolutely agree. And like we talked about, it's patience. You know, they're going to go out, get these 20, 30 mil, which is what I would do. Quite frankly, I think the scouting at Man United has been lazy
Yeah.
the last 3 years.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Fan driven.
Yeah, you're trend signing, fan driven. You know, Xerxes scored so many goals. Let's go out and sign him. It's
Yep.
not the first time they've done it. They did it way back in the day with a guy named 𝗕𝗁
Yeah,
from
I remember
Czechoslovakia.
Poborski. Yeah,
You remember
yeah,
that? He
the
scored.
left winger. Yeah,
Yeah, that's
he
right.
had a
You know,
good Euros, so we went out and signed him.
bingo, right?
Yeah,
You know, notice before you went out and you signed, Dwight York. I can see the shirt in the background, right? Diamond in the rough. You found him. You let, Ferguson polish him up. Fantastic, right? Solskjaer from Norway, right?
Chikorito.
Do your homework. Send your scouts out there, right? You paid Dan Ashworth how many millions of pounds to leave? You think how many scouts you could have sent all around the world, you know, to go out and find these players? And I think, there's still, I watch the English Premier League religiously. There's so many talented players out there, like the Jotas. And I wonder how Man United misses out on these guys.
Yeah, what was it? Who was the guy before Solskjaer? No, after. What was his name? Ralph Rangnick when he came in. The two he wanted to get Alvarez, and we said no for 8 million.
Right?
And now City just sold him, and he's banging it up in Atletico Madrid. you know,
So many.
One person that had a good World Cup, and then we signed them was 𝗕𝗁𝙍𝙀. We know how that went.
Yeah, I want to. So yeah, I agree with you. Like buying those young, talented players and building Manchester United up from the interview today really shows that that's what Man United's probably going to do for the next 2 years. Is buy those young talent, get up to 5th, get up to 6th, get up to 4th, and then go and spend maybe big money. Unless we get in the Champions League this year, we're not getting Osman and we're not getting Gugger.
No.
No, it looks like Arsenal are in for Osman, and that's a more attractive opportunity for him because he's going to become their main striker. And if they get Osman, I don't see how they don't win the league. I just don't.
He's an incredible talent.
Especially with right now Liverpool losing Salah. That's a big hit for Liverpool.
Massive.
And the fact that it's now March the 10th and he hasn't got a new contract is absolutely insane for me. But I do understand it. He wants big money, which he truly deserves, but he also wants a 3-year contract at the age of 32.
You can't do that.
You can't do that if you want to sustain clubs these days. You know what I mean? I think the days of spending 160, 120 million on players, unless you're Chelsea, you know what I mean, or Man City, it's just not happening anymore.
And the drop off is so quick. I mean, Casemiro was overnight.
Yeah. One good season.
Yeah.
I got a whole bunch of keynotes here. I want to touch on the Dutch player issue. Why? It goes into the Ten Hag situation. I give Sir Jim respect today for admitting he was wrong. There was some mitigated circumstances, like he said. He came in, but for me, he should have looked more at the past 2 years and gone, okay, this is just not good enough. We'll start with a new manager. We'll get you 2 free players. Then we'll go big next summer or something and see how you do this season. I think
they tried. They did try. They tried, and everybody turned us down.
Yeah.
Everybody told us to fuck off. If somebody would have said yes, then we would have gotten rid of him.
Why
do you think
Amorim
said
didn't
no.
come in?
I'm sorry?
Why do you two not think, we'll start with you, Mikey. Why do you think Amorim didn't take the job in the summer? Because he was actively looking to leave because Liverpool and I believe it was West Ham were interviewing him. So why do we not look at him in the summer?
Is that I thought he turned it down. So he turned it down in the summer. He turned the job down in the summertime.
I don't know if he turned Man United down. What I'm saying is
because I don't remember him being one of the ones that they spoke with.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I agree with
they
you.
spoke with a bunch of guys confirmed, and everybody was like, no.
Yeah.
Like, we got stuff going on. What was the guy at Bayern Munich?
Tuchel.
And he was like, no, hell no. Even though I'm getting fired, I still don't want to come to Man United. I don't need a check that bad.
You got the big boy job, the England
I got hair on my head. I would like to keep it there. You know what I'm saying? So, Yeah, I just think that they tried. I think if somebody reputable would have come in and took it, then they would have gotten it then. But then they did the wrong thing by turning to Amorim and being like, "Hey, this is now or never." And it's like, well, of course I'm going to take it. This is life changing money I could change my life with, and I'm going to have control of the biggest club in the world, if not one of the two biggest clubs in the world. So like, I got to jump on this now. I have to. How long am I going to stay at Sporting? Sporting's great. Don't get me wrong. Great institution of football. Portugal's great. Weather's great. Food's great. Women are great. But I got to come to Man United and make my bones. But the thing I like about Amorim is he's like, I might fail here. Okay, I might fail here. Like, there's nothing saying that I'm gonna try my best and I might fail here. That's my favorite part of the interview is that Sir Jim said, "Hey, I got it wrong. We got it wrong." And then when Gary tried to corner him, like, whose idea was it? And he was like, "It's me, Omar." Like he didn't.
Wilcox.
It's
Yeah.
all of us that got it wrong. Dan, all of us are here. We all got this one wrong. So,
The only thing for me in that, I wish he had. Well, what I was saying is like, right. So you identified Amorim 5 months later. Why? I get the mitigated circumstances. They'd just been in. It was the first summer. They'd all been together for like 2 weeks, whatever. That's probably why they looked at. But if you have a team like Liverpool looking at Amorim, why didn't you at least talk to Amorim in the summer? That was my question, Frank. Why did we not talk to him in the summer if you went and signed him 5 months later? And what really upsets me is if you were unsure about Erik ten Hag and you were looking for another coach, why did you go and spend all this money this summer on Dutch players, which you pointed out in the interview? Why did you go spend that money if you were unsure on Ten Hag? Why didn't you just say, hey, we'll get you those players in January. I'm going to give you 2 players now. Let's see how you do until Christmas.
Why didn't you sign Ten Hag to a 1-year deal?
Yeah.
Right, without severance pay.
Yeah.
This is the thing that gets me. Amorim came in, and yeah, he may never coach at a high or might take 2 years to resurrect his career. But at the end of the day, he's got fuck you money now, right?
Mhm.
Do you know what I mean? It doesn't matter to him. He's going to do it his way. That's why all these people he should change. He doesn't have to. You know, he's either going to do it his way, which he was very successful at Sporting, right? Or he's going to walk away with bags full of money, and Sporting will probably take him back,
Yep.
right?
Because Sporting's gone downhill since,
Well, I
Any
think the very first game after he left, they got thumped 5-0, 5-1.
That was the Arsenal game, wasn't
It was, yeah, and it was atrocious.
he could coach again in the Premier League like tomorrow.
it? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody else will take him at and it doesn't have to be like a bottom 3 side. It could be like a West Ham. I mean, even though they just got a new guy, but you know what I mean? Those types, like, I mean, we're one of those types now, but it could
Yeah.
be like a Wolves or something like that. He'll go somewhere and he'll be great.
Absolutely.
And I don't think that I like it because he's like, yo, I'm playing with house money. I got the money. I got the big club. All I got to do is make it happen. I think the Arsenal game showed that he's gonna tweak things tactically because we kind of went to a 5-3-2
Yep.
and throughout the game. So like he's gonna tweak things tactically and he's gonna go out there and get a dub. Like he's not gonna, all right, let's sit back and get this draw, or let's just survive this game. He said that in the beginning. He was like, nah, we're actually gonna try to win this. And back when you said that you didn't think Obi, I thought Rasmus was playing. Rasmus looked really itchy, like he was going to get a goal that game.
Yeah.
So I was okay with him staying on. All right, even though he missed the one in the front, those were like toe poke goals that he should have been looked up, take the ball away from himself, and then passed it into the net. But I feel like he looked dangerous, like he was going to get a goal that game. So I was like, just leave him on for the confidence. I think it was a man management thing in that regard.
What they get against
Not bringing on
Arsenal?
the kid. Yeah, not bringing on the kid. Just let him play it out because he actually had a decent game outside of not scoring. He had a decent game. It wasn't the worst game ever.
No, I agree with you. I will say, I will say I almost threw a beer can at the beer bottle at the TV screen when he didn't one touchdown to the back of the net though.
Yeah,
And Arsenal made
everybody
that
was
mistake.
upset
Dude,
with
I
that.
was
Oh
so
my
mad at
God.
that. The touch he made was incredibly bad. All you had to hammer that into the side into the net because David Ray, either side of Ray, he wasn't.
I also feel like it was a great stop by Declan Rice, but like you take that ball away from you a little bit more. Like he touched it onto him and he took an extra touch to move the ball away from him. And it's like it's still at the base of your feet. Someone can get it. You need to put yourself between the defenders here, your body's here, and the ball needs to be like over here. So they have to drive through you to get the ball, and then you can still have a shot. He just tapped it forward. Wrap your leg around there, and that's it. So he just does the decision making, but also young kid. Still think he's a baby in my eyes. He's a baby to me. He doesn't need to be leading the line for Man United. Too much responsibility for him.
Yeah. Just jumping on.
Shout out to Rich, man. Appreciate you stopping in, brother.
Yeah. One of the other kind of questions. Sorry, guys.
You're good. Do your thing, man.
It looks like it really, just from the interview, it looks like we're getting a new stadium. And I honestly think because he said in the interview, we're gonna build the stadium as long as they do the project. I don't see the British government not building the project. They said that it's gonna be. He said it would be one of the biggest projects in Europe to redo that Manchester area. And he said, I can't just build a mall and some housing apartments because that would just fail, because the surrounding areas just aren't good enough to support that. So you're going to need that whole regeneration. There is a decision expected to be made pretty decently soon. I'm gonna go say before the start of next season, it'll be announced that Man United get a new. They announced they're going to build a new stadium. Mikey, you got a hand up. What's your thoughts on that?
I just want to say, from a person that's worked in government for a while, the part of the regeneration that I want to see the most is not the damn living situation.
Yeah.
I want them to focus on bringing back small business to the area. Bring back the business to the area. If you've been to Manchester, we all have. I don't know. Have you, Mr. Green? You've been to?
No, I have not.
Okay, so
No.
it's not the most beautiful place in the world. Okay, they call Manchester a dirty old town for a reason, but there's beauty in that dirt. There's beauty in that filth. You know what I'm saying? So, anywho, there's nothing going on in the area. There's 19,000 people that live in that area, right? As of last year's census. The small business has to come. It has to be hospitable to business owners to come to revitalize. I think that's the biggest part of it. You're not going to displace that many people with building, but you must focus on the building, must focus on the economic part of it too, because that's the only way. If you're going to come in and you're going to put a damn Starbucks here and your lattes are $10 and then there's a Jamba Juice there, and it's not going to help anybody. It's only going to help us Americans. When we go there, we can get a Jamba Juice and then walk to the game. It needs to be Chippies and trainer spots, and I can get some mushy peas over there and whatever, and all that other good stuff that's going on. A Poundland, maybe, I don't know. Put those things in the area to revitalize the area, to make it nice for people to come there, spend their money there, and then that's how you really revitalize the area.
A cultural experience.
It definitely cannot. Right. It needs to be small village artisan shops. It cannot be what we do here in America. What we do here so well. We suck the soul out of places. Soul here, small business, mom and pop. Get out of there. Walmart, get over there right now. Get them guys out of there. However we got to do it. This house has been around here for 30 years. Get them out of there. Eminent domain. Bulldoze it. Church. That's what we did in Atlanta. We bulldozed a church to build the Benz, and that's why we lost 28-3 in the Super Bowl, because we bulldozed a damn church to build what a Falcons play. We can't do that. It has to be better.
The one thing I will say about the UK is there isn't that many big chains in the UK. UK style chains. There's no Walmart sort of thing. You got Tesco's, but Tesco's does a beautiful superstore. You walk in and get your Scotch eggs, sausage rolls, and
It's coming.
Yeah. Well, you know,
You guys are
that
turning into America very fast, especially England.
well,
Very fast.
Walmart does own Asda. I believe it's Asda in the UK. So we have those. You know, there is some things popping up, but as of right now, there is no, big chains in the UK. So, you know, the chippies and things like that. I agree, but there are a lot of on the way into Old Trafford. There's quite a few chippies there. You can get your pies and fish and chips and stuff like that. So I do believe that they would do it the right way. Getting some Poundlands and stuff in there. Um, what's your thoughts on it, Mr. Green? Obviously, other than having small businesses in there, what's your kind of thoughts on the new stadium over the revitalization of Old Trafford?
Um, I'm a little bit older than you guys, so I'm kind of like a nostalgic romantic. I love the old stadiums. Um, I really do. Goodison Park, Craven Cottage. I grew up in a time when it wasn't so fancy and commercial, and money hadn't ruined the game yet. You know, you got to remember, you walked into Old Trafford 20 years ago, and you were in for a rough time, and you knew it, right?
Yeah,
So I kind of like what Real Madrid did. You know what I mean? Revamp the existing stadium. I get it. Get rid of the rats and the leaky roofs and all that stuff. I just think it's $2 billion.
yeah,
Right? It's a huge expenditure. Yeah, the government's going to get on board. They're going to do the project, but when you're paying $35 million on 700 million, and you're looking, Sir Jim Ratcliffe said we got to get out of debt. We got to get. So you're going to get out of debt to get into a $2 billion debt.
yeah.
You
Um,
know,
the thing with that though, yes, it's 2 billion for a new stadium, but that gets paid back real quick, man. You're looking at the SoFi Stadium in America, and that's what it looks like they're gonna base that off. You call it, say, Ineos New Old Trafford or something. Just put a name in front of it. People are gonna be mad about it, but at the end of the day, if it gets us out of freaking debt, I'm more than willing to let that happen for 4 years, until we're out of debt. But then you're talking about that massive screen. You've got advertisements, ESPN, whatever wants to be on there. Um, you got real good concession stands, because the concession stands at Old Trafford are horrendous. You get your little. Me and Mikey have talked about your little pie for like £7.50. It's cold when you
Oh,
get it. One
yeah.
of the things that I think would be a great idea, and I've said this to Mikey, is like we do in America here is, and I'm not sure about you guys, but we're not in England. You're not allowed to drink when you're sitting, so put a section of the corner in where people can stand and drink and watch the game.
whew. You
You
talk
know.
Well,
about
I know.
violence.
Yeah, here in Canada, like at hockey games and stuff, they bring it right to your seat. Like you can order
Yeah.
beers, but I mean, it costs you $30 Canadian.
Yeah.
It's pricey. And my worry is, you spend 2 billion on a stadium, the £66 pound, the increase to the tickets, it affects the little guy, right? And that's what really pisses me off about sports these days.
Yep.
You know, like the little guy can't afford to go and watch his favorite team play anymore.
Can't
No, I
take his
agree.
kid. He
Can't
works.
take
He
his kid.
works 40 hours. He can't pay. He can't pay for. He barely pay his rent. Got a kid. Probably wants to take his kid. He's been watching the club for 20 years, 30 years. Wants to take his kid, and it says, "Oh, this guy comes out of nowhere and says, hey, this amount of money." And then they say, "Well, it's gonna make a club better," and it's like, okay. You said all of this, Sean. Those people in London that have to pay for West Ham Stadium,
Mhm.
the Olympics were supposed to pay that back. That was supposed to been paid,
Yeah.
still not paid. It's costing people over $100,000 a year. The people that live in the area to in taxes
Well, they
just
don't.
to pay that place back, just to pay it back. And there was a promise that it would be paid back once built. They built that in 2012.
The difference between that though is the government paid that. The Sir Jim and I'm going to say the Glazers. Sir Jim is going to get the funding for it. It looks like they're going to get the funding not from the bank, but more from investors. Kind of like what Barcelona have just done. The investors are pretty much paying for the stadium. You're
Did they
promising
not agree that the government would pay for a part of the revitalization?
the revitalization is going to be the housing and stuff in the area. Manchester United are going to pay for the full price of the stadium. That's what it, from the interview that he did today. He said we are going to pay for the stadium. So it, you
We'll
know,
believe it when I see it.
okay. So yeah, no, absolutely. But United, like he said today, United is a bit revenue wise is top 3 in the world. You're the top 3 in the world. There's no reason why you ain't gonna get an investor to come in and say, hey, I'm gonna give you this amount, and then another investor, I'm gonna give you this amount. You know what I mean? And the quicker they get that built, the quicker they can get the Glazers out, because it looks like that's the only way you can leverage the Glazers out is with the money. Hey, we just got the stadium built. You don't own the stadium anymore. You know what? That's their leverage. You own Man United, but you don't own the stadium. I own the stadium.
Investors are going to want their money too.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, are you
Yeah.
jumping into another pool with a bunch of sharks?
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. It's just for me, I see 100,000 seat stadium. And I will say this to go on your point there, Frank. He did say today that these tickets prices going up are, and I'm going to go out on a belief that he's telling the truth, is not a. He said that they will come down eventually once we're out of debt. He's just using it right now to get out of debt. And trust me, I don't agree with it either. I'm taking my kid, my wife, and Sanjeeva. Jeeves is going over with us to England. You're talking $66 a ticket.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money, So,
If you're going on vacation, that's a huge chunk of your spending money.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky in the aspect that my family still live there, so I don't have to pay for my accommodation. People like Casey who are over there right now, you're paying for accommodation, you're paying whole shebang. Expensive.
Every time I go, I spend at least $1,700 just for a game, accommodation, and then I have to travel into London to see family. So you got to get a train ticket.
Yeah, they're
all
expensive.
of that shit. Yeah, I have to stay in hotel football. That's overblown Holiday Inn, like the glorified Holiday Inn with Old Trafford outside. But it's an arm and a leg. It's a lot. It's a lot. But we come from that. We come from getting fleeced on tickets. Like,
let's talk about that. We looked
I
at it
went and
today.
saw Atlanta United for free. Shouts to Blake. Me and Blake went, and it was free. There were great seats. I hate the MLS, but it was a good time. And if it's free, I'll take 3. So we went, good time, whatever. Those seats I was sitting there were like $300, and I'm like, to see the MLS, $200-$300? Come on now, bro. But hey, this is the same league that the stretchers have advertisements on them. So, what do you expect?
Yeah. It's just for me that I feel like building. I'm kind of with you. Like, I've been to Old Trafford, a lot, and I'm very fortunate. I'm gonna go again in August. I just feel like I would love to see Old Trafford downgraded. I would never like to see it being demolished, but I feel when you're coming to the times, I think it is time for a new stadium for Man United. You're talking about 100,000 seater. That's 25,000 more fans you can get into the stadium. You 25,000 at $33 a pop. There's a lot of money right there. Every home game.
Hospitality, all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that is, you've seen what it's done for Real Madrid. And so Jim said today, the north of Manchester has won the Champions League. What is it?
10 times, I think he said.
10 times. London's won it 2. But the north of England doesn't have a Bernabeu. It doesn't have a San Siro, you know what I mean? And it needs one. And I think, he's right. We do need one. We had one 20 years ago. We just don't have it anymore. So for me, I'd love to see a new stadium, but I wouldn't like to see it knocked down. And Mikey, I want to get on your point here. The ticket prices I'm going to shout this out. How the fucking cheek of Manchester United to fucking release those ticket prices the day after we just protested ticket prices. $200 fucking a ticket. Because I'm gonna say, you guys in England, £66 is a lot of money, but you don't pay Ticketmaster fees. You get it through Man United. We're paying $159 because we want the good seats, right, mate? You don't want to sit back. $159 for a ticket plus what, $60 in ticket fees?
And you also got to park.
Yeah, you
You're
got
gonna
to
buy
park,
$10 for a Stella Artois.
and I've got to pay the $283 to fly down to Atlanta. You know, which is not a bad price, to be honest with you. 283 returns, not a bad price, but
You
still.
can get that ticket now for cheaper. Hell,
Oh, I looked today. It's 283.
it's 200 flat with Delta.
283 with Delta. Yeah,
Yeah,
not a bad price. Not a bad price.
that ain't too
I'll
bad.
pay that. No,
Yeah.
but
I mean,
$200.
when I could fly from England to France for €50, or
Well, put it this way, right? So I'm going to Philly next month for work.
Okay.
I'm leaving on a Tuesday, and then I'm flying back from Philly on a Wednesday.
Mm.
The hotel, the airfare was $75 cheaper to fly to Philly than it was to England for 2 weeks.
Jordan Long, being American, $60 for a ticket isn't bad for most sporting events, brother. That's not our $60 for us though. And then $60, you pay $60 to go and watch the SEC championship over here in the Benz. You're gonna be sitting up there with your whatever relative that passed.
Yeah.
That's where you're gonna be.
Yeah.
You're gonna be talking to them the whole game.
To be fair though, like a little bit to Jordan though, £66 for a ticket at Old Trafford. If you're lucky enough to get a ticket,
Right.
you're gonna be up there anyway most of the time, because trying to get one in the Stretford end or anywhere on that lower is good luck with that.
Yeah.
You know, you're paying more than $200 for that ticket.
Facts.
Yeah, you know, if you go on Man United's website, it will say $263. I don't remember the last time I saw a ticket that was actually $33. And I'm an official supporters group, and I can't get tickets for $33. So, let me just bring up more of notes.
The design of Old Trafford, though, it makes it, well, just English football pitches, because I've also gone to some lower league and I've seen Arsenal play at the Emirates. Just in my short experience with it, being somebody that's seen college football a lot and also seen some football over there, it's kind of made a lot better for if you're sitting up higher. You can see more of the action. Whereas, like, when you go to, like I said, we have the Mercedes-Benz here. It used to be the Georgia Dome, right? If you're sitting up there, man, those guys look like dots. And the Benz is relatively new. It's like 10 years old. So, like, they built that a little bit better. But you go to MetLife, unless you're sitting at the bottom, you're sitting up there with, you can't see anything. So it's like, yeah, you spent $60, but you could have watched that at home.
Yeah.
And way better quality with 3,000 cameras in slow motion if you want it.
That is one thing I hope that when the new stadium is built, that they don't go that American route where you just can't see, because, you know, it's hard enough to see on an American pitch, which is bigger, you know what I mean, than see on a football pitch.
Yeah.
One of the kind of last things, you know, that I got in my notes here, that's too, as much as a lot of people out there have been bitching about Ruben, I want to agree with Sir Jim and say what a good job Ruben's done with the team that he's had. You know, came in November, a lot of players weren't wanting to play. You had to change that mentality, and then you get to January where you're getting some training session and all your starters start going out.
Yeah.
And you're running a team with nothing but youngsters on the bench. These are youth academy players on the bench. There is nobody else on that bench that's not a youth academy player. Against Arsenal, can you name a traditional first starter for Man United that was on the bench other than Rasmus? You know, it was hard work for him. So I do want to give him credit, and the people that are calling him out already, for me, are just insane.
It's nonsense.
Yeah, I just hope I hope those fans that are calling him out really eat the words next season. You know what I mean?
For sure. Also, I also don't like those fans that think he's beyond above reproach too, right? Like, you can't say anything bad about him. No, it's like, no. He gets criticism just like everybody else before him. Hell, I used to criticize Sir Alex. I'm nowhere, no way, shape, or form should be doing that. But when I see things that look weird, and he's gotten it wrong before, and he'll be the first one to tell you, hey, I got it wrong today, you know, whatever. So Yeah, it got to be a good balance, right? I don't want the manager out, but does he do weird things sometimes? Yeah. Does it work sometimes? Yeah. Does it not work sometimes? Cool. But back the manager, bro. Back the manager, because nobody could ever tell you this same contingent, right? And it's Amorim out contingent. They can never tell you who they want in. They never say, nah, Amorim out, man. Bring in 𝗕𝗓𝙍𝙀. Bring him in. They never say anybody. They just say, nah, just him out. Him out. Out. He has to go tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for that great insight.
Yeah, Frank, what's your how do you think he's done?
I think he's done wonderfully. And it's not just with the team. It's with the interviews, because at Man United, it's a lot of talking. I can
Oh,
actually kind of see a difference from when he first started to where he is now. Like he's a little bit tired, if that makes any sense. But I think he speaks brilliantly. Um, and yeah, he has done an excellent job of managing his team. And I think the biggest thing that he's done is he's gotten rid of the cancers in the dressing room
yep.
at whatever the cost. He staked his reputation on it. He staked the remainder of the season on it. And he just said, like, you guys, you got to go. You have to go.
As a Sporting fan, we were talking about it before the show. Is exactly what he did at Sporting. He first came in. It was like, out. You're paying
Yeah.
too much money. Out.
He sold 4 guys that they signed the summer before.
Yeah. It was
Like, you got to go.
yeah. I don't think United have the funds or the ability to sign 25, get rid of 25 players in this league. It's a little more easier over there than to be able to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm more than happy for 8 to go and 6 quality to come in. Like, when I say quality, I mean quality 30 million.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, now that Nottingham Forest is in top 4 contention, but I would go out there and try and get a Gibbs White. Like last year, you probably could have picked him up 25, 30 million pounds. A Callum O'Doy, an 𝗕𝗓𝙍𝙀. You can go around to these English clubs, right? And it's what Benfica did in Portugal for years. It's just go and
Nibbling.
poach, right, from the lower clubs and keep yourself up there. Look at what Wood is doing for Nottingham Forest. He's on fire, right? What did they pay for him?
Yeah, nothing. And to anybody out there that says it can't be done, look at Nottingham Forest.
Yep.
I think 1 or 2 of their players cost over 45 million. That was it.
Their philosophy, though, is what gets them through, right? The way they set up in matches. So that's also important. And I have to bring that to mind too. Once we do get the quality, then the show is really on Amorim at that point.
Yes.
And then there'll be no excuses. But right now, anybody that's like really critical of Amorim right now and want him gone, man, you guys are FIFA players. That's all it is. You're FIFA players and you think this is career mode. That's okay.
It's kind of like Chelsea. You want to go out and sign, sign anybody and anybody. Quinton saying, sorry, join late. You already discussed, but yeah, Amorim has only the youth on the bench. Short read. It's crazy how we are still in injury crisis. Clearly was a Ten Hag problem. Yeah, I agree with that to the most part. I feel like the new system for Amorim, where he wants them, as quoted, to run like dogs, I think they're not used to that as much as what they were used to in Hag. So obviously you're going to get a few injuries there. Discounting Mount and Luke Shaw, who, you might as well put in the trash bag right now, and it really disappoints me because they're really 2 good, excellent players who we could really do with this year. It looks like Mount is closer to return. From what I'm seeing, I think we've seen Luke Shaw played his last game at Man United. It doesn't look like he's coming back anytime soon.
Shut them both down.
Mount, I would give to next year. I would give Mount next year.
Shut him down to next year.
Yeah, sure. Well, Luke Shaw, I would get rid of. Mount, I would probably keep next year, just on the basis you're probably not going to be able to sell him.
What year is Luke Shaw in his contract?
He's got another 2 years.
Yeah, so like that's the thing, dude. How do you get rid of Luke Shaw when the whole world knows he hasn't finished a season in 10 years. He is yet to finish a season.
The same
He's
way.
Amount of
played
games he's played
Anthony
since he's
Mars
signed.
Anthony Martial has started more games than Luke Shaw and was there less time.
The same
Yeah.
way Frank said earlier with Casemiro, you buy him out.
But Casemiro, can you buy him out? Can we afford to buy him out of his contract? How much would that be? Because Casemiro, we could look at him and be like, okay, his legs are gone.
Yeah.
And somebody will still pay some money for him. He just has to want to go.
Yeah.
He wants to, for some strange reason, in that crazy Brazilian head of his, he thinks he could still play at this level, which, he's a 5-time Champions League winner. Well, who's going to, of course he has that confidence. Good for him. But we're not seeing it.
You brought up a good point, though. Who you just named a certain striker that scored more goals, played more games this year. Who was that?
Played more games than
Martial, right?
Yeah.
What was Martial at Man United? Injury
was
prone.
he what?
He was injury prone at Man United, right?
Yeah.
He hasn't been out pretty much all season. He's been playing all season. So what's to say that, if he goes to somewhere else and gets a different doctor or, training regimen, he could, not go play in Europe. Sure, there's a European
Look
team
where
like
Martial
Galatasaray.
went. For what money? He played his contract out. Where did he go?
Yeah, but if you sell Luke
Ike
Shaw
Athens, we didn't get
Luke
anything
Shaw,
for that.
No, you're right. But if you can sell Luke Shaw for 10 million, and I believe Luke Shaw, because he's been here so long, he would then be classed as a youth player, right? If I'm not wrong, Frank.
No, it's profit now.
Yeah, it's pure
it's
profit
now.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So you sell him for like 10, 12 million to someone like Galatasaray.
Okay, so you're okay with taking 10 million. Okay.
Let's just hope they don't go by games played.
Right.
His record's brutal.
And it's not his fault. Like, we jump on Luke Shaw. I don't ever want to seem like I'm beating a man down because his body's not working. Just to let the record show that that's not what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
But it's a fact of the matter is, like, you don't play, and we're not a charity.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody built like a tank, so fragile.
Yeah, it's because of that leg break, isn't it, really? That leg break really screwed up his leg, like, pretty bad. It went, like, I believe the bone went through his muscle and stuff. It was pretty bad.
Quentin, you are shameless. I love watching Mount press. I've never heard somebody say, I love watching a player press. You shameless. You're so shameless. Even if I get to only see it 15 minutes a season.
Well, to be fair, though, he is one of our best. He does press ridiculously good. He is. That's why I would love to see him, because for me, Mason Mount fits perfectly as a number 10 in this system. Perfectly. He presses. He has ball quality to put the ball in. He has ball quality to score. If he could ever come 50% of what he was at Chelsea United, he's an asset to the team.
Chelsea in the beginning, because his last season there, they wanted him gone. They thought he was terrible.
He was injured in his last season.
Oh,
Amorim has brought a part of his physio team with him. I believe he was one of the 5 guys.
It was, yeah.
That Amorim took. So it's going to take some time to work into their system.
Yeah, that running and stuff, yeah.
That running and, we're going to see a totally different team next year.
And not only that, they just signed that ex-Olympian for the running.
Yeah.
So, yeah, like everything. One of the other things, what was I want to touch about? Yeah. How do you guys feel how Glazer, as Sir Jim did today when he was asked about the Glazers? I thought he bit his tongue pretty well. I know, Mike, you touched on earlier, so I'll jump in with Frank here real quick. How do you think he did? I felt he looked really uncomfortable, because he knew at the end of the day they're still his boss. You know what I mean?
100%.
So you can't criticize them. How do you think he did with that? I think he held it pretty well. You could see at one point it almost slipped out.
Yeah, I agree with you. And like we talked about before the show, there was almost like a script there, because everything was when Sir Alex retired. Things changed. When Sir Alex retired, things changed when the Glazers took over. I honestly think Sir Alex Ferguson probably had another 2-3 years left in him, to be honest. Not a conspiracy theorist, but I just think he knew. Do you know what I mean? Like, time's up. I'm going to quit while I'm still
That's what
ahead.
Rio said. Rio said the same thing. He said he saw the writing on the wall.
Yeah,
Well, it's
yeah.
also to
So
do with Kathy wanted him to stop.
yeah, but I think he did well. But I think there was a bit of a script. And like you say, like, he knows that yeah, they're still the boss. And like he doesn't really own as much as everybody would like to think he does. At the end of the day, the Glazers are still pulling the strings.
Yep.
And like I said, I give Neville credit for going at him a little bit. Because it was Neville that brought up the Glazers. After Sir Ratcliffe tried to dribble around the Glazers, and so I think he did well. Great spokesman. Spoke very well. Kind of somebody like you enjoy listening to. So I think he held himself very well. Did a good
Where
account of himself.
where's that Mancunian accent? There's no Mancunian, the working class Mancunian accent. What happened to
Ain't
it,
no working class,
Mr.
man.
Jim? That's what he
Yeah.
said. He said, I'm coming from a working class background. I'm trying to put the Manchester back in Manchester United. And that's what got everybody on board. And he sounds like he's from Essex.
He
Too
does
much
not
time in
certainly
Nice.
sound like he's from Essex, man. Jim. Essex. That's like England's Jersey Shore, man. It's just like
Sounds quite prim and proper to me, buddy.
yeah, he
Well, he
is.
has
Well,
been for quite some time.
yeah, he's been away from just for a long time. Like when I go back to England, my accent changes instantly. Dude. This isn't my real accent.
Oh, is he away from England dodging something?
No, we're not gonna get into that one. Yeah, I think overall the interview was decent. Again, I'm gonna applaud him for coming out and doing it. Something the Glazers have never done. I hope he does more of them. What I would like to see is maybe one of those with maybe taking a question or two from the supporters groups. Having it, an interview with supporters groups, all over the world. Taking a question or two from them. Because that's where it really matters, right? We're the fans. He said it today. We're the ones that give Manchester United the money. We pay the tickets. So, and I believe it's close to $1 billion that they earn just from ticket sales every game.
Yeah.
Now imagine another 25,000. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of money. So I will give him credit for that. I do. Go ahead.
I liked his backing of Amorim.
Yeah.
I thought that was
Yeah, real good.
Real
Yeah.
good. Absolutely.
Yeah. No, I agree. And just overall, I applaud him for doing it. You could see it was a situation, in a lot of aspects.
He put it out there flat too. He was like, "Hey, he doesn't have the players." Like he said it kind of annoyed. Like he doesn't have the players. Like what the fuck do you want from him? And that's when I was like, "Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
sir." I'm not Ineos out. I've said what I've said about billionaires, but I'm not Ineos out. I think Ineos needs more time to figure stuff out because everything that they're doing now, we're only going to see the results of it with time passed.
Yeah.
So for anybody saying Ineos out, it's like, yes, it sucks that people lost jobs. Nobody likes that. Nobody likes to hear that people have lost jobs. But the way it was sounding is that there was a lot of people doing the same job, and we could stand to have less people doing that job. Now, okay, is that going to make a difference down the stretch? Only time will tell.
One of the last things I wanted to touch about, and I actually forgot about it, and you kind of brought it up there for me, like re-triggered something, is I kind of want to figure out how he said it with the job losses. At the end of the day, we took on a lot of people over the years. With putting Glazers in charge, he was like obviously not liking to lose those players. I wasn't too. Me and Frank talked about it before about the 40,000. I didn't like that. You came off a little. I think he came off a little stupid about the fact that Gary Neville came up with an idea that you and your board members couldn't figure out. I think that he looked stupid
he did
at.
look bad. Yeah,
That he looked stupid at, and it's kind of like, oh, whoa, should we hire Gary Neville to go on the board? But no. But for me, I think he gave a good explanation of why we had to make the changes in the backroom staff. You know, I've never really heard that aspect before. Look after the penny, the pounds look after themselves.
Mhm.
And I think he, as much as I hate it, and I do, I think I understand now that I know United would have gone into administration in November, and now I understand it a little more, and now I'm a little more like, okay, I understand a little more why you did it. Casey, I know you the subject you. Oh, does that help? Does that? I know you don't like it as much as I don't, but does it allow you to understand it a little bit more,
Not
knowing
Casey, but
Mikey?
yeah.
Sorry, yeah. I'm all
Um,
drugged up over here. Like I got like my medication and stuff. So sorry.
no, I think that made me laugh a little bit when Gary Neville came up with that idea. He
Yeah.
was like, "Why don't you ask them to foot the bill?" And it was like the reason why is because it's such a like a layman, non-businessman type of discourse he was having with them, and it's like he kind of prefaced it with, "You're the biggest businessman here. You're in the room, and in all of England. Why don't you get them to pay for it?" And it's like, yeah, but they already haven't, right? They've already shown us that they will not pay. We walked into this knowing they're not going to pay, right? They have
I
no
thought that was a
interest in
great
paying.
question.
Yeah, very good question. Just not how do I say it lacked a little bit of nuance, right? Because but like Gary, like you said, he's not a well, he is a businessman too, actually a pretty decent one. But he's a footballer first, right? He comes from that. Um, I, I, I think the pressure was good. I think Sir Jim also couldn't say certain things. There's certain things he just can't say. Um, I think he did bite his tongue a little bit good with the Glazers. I just, I don't know. I
What's
think
your
we all
thoughts on the staff? Like do you understand? Like, as I said, we all hate what happened. But after that interview and knowing how bad our finances truly are now, do you understand why he did that a little bit more? The
I mean,
firing.
I understood it from its
Yeah.
inception why, but the thing is that there's so many things that's contradictory to the firing because we have the third lowest wage bill from staff in the Premier League. Like we have some of the least amount of staff that I've seen people say, like different pundits say, like we really don't have that many people that work here. So like as opposed to like Liverpool
But he
or
said the opposite today, didn't he? He did say today that we had up there with the top, like we have way too many. And that's
Well,
the thing, coming from pundits compared to coming to a part owner. I know the pundits can technically be wrong because then, even if they got a source inside Manchester United, it's not necessarily always correct. Like I get some sources sometimes, and I ain't putting that out there. I know that ain't true. Like that's
yeah,
where
but the
like
difference between you and them is that they've been covering the club for 20 years. And
no, I
like
get
they
that, but
they talk to people inside the club. You read the internet. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying? So it's like they have contacts inside the club and they've compared the numbers of people working in the club to the numbers that go on. Of course, he's gonna say, now we're talking about how much is too much, which is subjective now. It's like he thinks it's too much, so it has to be too much. Whereas like objectively, this is how much you have. This is the number. We can see the number. This is a finite number of employees. Everybody gets a check. We can count that.
yeah.
Right. So I'm not saying he's lying. I'm just saying it's a matter of like, well, you think it's too much people now. That's what you think. You think it's too much people and it could be lessened because that's what he does. He goes into places and he pulls money out however he can and to get it to work to optimum efficiency, which I feel like fair play. I don't like it. I don't like it, but I understand why he's doing it. But I've heard the contrary. We've seen the numbers and it doesn't really add up there. So when I heard him say that, I'm like, this is more of you saying it's too many people, but is it too many? They also don't get paid shit. They get paid nothing, but we'll only know at the end how much we're gonna save by getting rid of those people. So that's why I say give it time.
Uh, Frank, what was your take on that?
I found it interesting that he blamed the last two management regimes.
Yes, yeah,
Um, he squarely put the blame on them, and he said he came into this hornet's nest. I think he said 1,200 employees, and their aim is to get down to 750.
yeah.
That's a lot of people to work at a football club. I don't like it. Um, you know, I come from an industrial town, and jobs like that mean the world to people. You know, like Mikey said, they get paid shit. It might be shit to, you know what I mean, to Sir Jim Ratcliffe, but that's their lives. You know, a lot of those people invested decades of their lives, and to come into a guy who's never going to suffer in his lifetime. And I think they could have made some cuts elsewhere. We talk about the 40 grand, right? What does it cost to fuel up the Glazers jet?
40 grand.
Yeah.
40 grand,
The
right?
guy's wearing a $40,000 watch in that interview.
Right? Exactly. Right. So you know what? The Glazers stay home one day and keep the 40 grand.
I agree with that. My like it just that interview. I'm gonna read Sanjeev's here. Like, it can't really take anything from Sir Jim at face value. Sounds like any executive from any Fortune 500 company. Not saying any us out, but interview does not move the needle. I'm gonna say the opposite. I think that it doesn't move the needle for me today. I think knowing, like, I want you to look at this, and I said this to you before, right, Frank? Everyone that's like not moving the needle, I want you to take, if this is one of the last things you take from the show, if it wasn't for Sir Jim, we would be going into bankruptcy in 8 months. In 8 months, we would be broke. Do you know what that means? That means a point deduction next season, which means if we don't play well, relegation. If we play anywhere close to this year, relegation. Do you know what relegation does for Man United? More bankruptcy.
I have to ask the question: is it not? Did he not buy a percentage of the club?
Yes, he did buy the percentage of the club.
And do we all know? Do we all know that the Glazers don't put money in? So who else was going to put the money in besides the other people that own the
Well, that's the thing. He came in, bought the percentage of the club, and means Frank was saying this before, right? Who else was in for buying Man United? Nobody. Well, there's not a doubt in my mind that Glazers would never had. I don't think they had any intention of selling 100% of the club. Any intention at all. Who else came in to bid part other than Sir Jim? And you said it perfect, Frank. No one wants to get in bed with the Glazers. Nobody wanted to get in bed with the Glazers. So if he hadn't come in, right? If he hadn't come in and purchased that, and it wasn't what he bid for the club, he put 300 million of his own money to stop us from going bankrupt. So we have to look at it in moving the needle aspect, because as much as we don't like what he's done, he's also stopped us going bankrupt. Because if Ineos didn't buy it, nobody else was buying it. And if no one else brought it, guess where we are in November? We have to give him some respect.
And you want to talk job cuts?
Yeah.
Relegation is job cuts.
Yeah.
Job cuts.
Relegation is disastrous for Manchester United. Disastrous.
What Sanjeev is saying is the interview itself doesn't move any needles, right? So
I thought he meant the fan.
No, you say it's not moving any needles because it's like he does sound like an executive from a Fortune 500 company.
No, I agree with that.
100%. It doesn't. It sounds good, but it has to be put in practice. The thing I would say is he decided to buy the sinking ship. These guys have financial analysts, right, that are paid big money, big fucking money. I know one guy here that just does consulting for different companies. He makes $450,000 a year, right? Travels the world. Is a good friend of mine. They make huge money to go in and look at all this, the state of the finances and all of this stuff. They came in with a plan to do these things. So he didn't do us a favor by doing it. I mean, yeah, he did it because like it's a favor because we go into, but it's not him doing us a favor. It's him keeping the company that he wants to buy afloat. He had to do it because nobody else is going to do it. They weren't going to sell it to the Sheikh because the Sheikh wasn't going to pay $6 billion for it. Nobody's paying $6 billion for this debt-riddled club. That's what they wanted. They wanted $5 to $6 billion. It's worth $4. Now you want $6? Okay, cool, whatever. You didn't get it for $6 either, but buy for $1, sell for $2. Understood. I understand that little bit of economics there.
And
but
it's debt that the Glazers amassed.
Right. He does. He's not really like doing us a favor by doing that. He wants to own the club. So that's what you need to do. Well, any good business that can't do that, guess what has to happen to them? They have to fail. right? They have to fail. So, if he didn't come in and spend the money and the Glazers weren't going to do it, then we would just have to fail. That's just what it is, So, yeah, he did. Thank you for doing that, Sir Jim. I appreciate it. I don't know what to say at that point.
It's for me. He said it perfectly for me at the end, and I get everyone has a different opinion. For me, I thank you for doing it, because a club that I've supported since I was since 1987 is now not going bankrupt. So because I do see it from a different aspect than some people do, and some people may criticize me, some may agree with me, and that's fine. Whatever your that's what the show is, right? It's opinions and it's a fan show. I just me yes, you're right. He has to show it, right? He's come in and he's gonna have to show this, and I'm gonna give him that time to show it. And if he doesn't show it, I'm gonna be right there of Glazers out and Ineos out, right? I will happily be that person. It's just for me right now. I think we have the right manager. I think right now we have the right owner moving us in some directions. Obviously, he's going to make mistakes. You look at Ratcliffe, not Ratcliffe, you Ashworth, and you look at Ten Hag. Any owner's going to make mistakes in any business that they make. I think he's making us on the. I feel like he's making a decision. I feel like that. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I'm always willing to say I'm wrong. But for me, at the end of the day, anyone can go and criticize him because no one else was out there willing to put the money in. No one else was willing to buy the club. No one else was willing to put 300 million of his own money into the club to save it. No one wanted to do it. So we have, in that aspect, is what I'm kind of trying to say. Yes, you're right. It's his business. He's going to want to save the business. But as he says, at the end of the day, if I didn't feel like I could turn this club around, I wouldn't have brought Man United, and I would sell it to the Sheik. He said that today. If I didn't think I could do it, I'd sell it. Look at he feels like he can do it. He's built Mercedes.
Let's let him do it.
What?
Let's let him do it.
Yep, let's let him do it.
Let's let him do it. That's the thing. That's what I'm trying to say. Is that
I agree with you.
I don't know how anybody could feel heads or tails of him because he's only been here a year. It's like, like I said, you didn't do us a favor. You just saved the business that you want to turn around. I appreciate it.
I agree with you.
You got to show us now. We have to see it. Just like Amorim, I hitched that same wagon to Amorim. Amorim has to show us now that, okay, we know these aren't your players. Sir Jim, we know that you've only been in for a year. We know that you have to deal with the Glazers. We know you have this crazy amount of debt you have to deal with, and you only have this much of the club, and you want to do this, and this. And Amorim has his list of things too. We just want to see it now, and it's just going to take time. Like I said earlier, I'm still Ineos in, but that's not because I'm optimistic. That's just because they need more time before I can say yay or nay. I'm not going to fuck them off as soon as they get in. They might do some good, but they have to do some good. Not my feeling. I just got to see it.
Yeah. That's just I'm a very positive person when it comes to that sort of thing. I have to, that, Mikey. I always try and see the bright side of things. That's why we work so well together. Sometimes I'm the devil, sometimes you're the devil, sometimes it's the opposite. I try to be positive, and I try to see that, because for me, there's no the Glazers. Yes, they've earned the Glazers out. Ineos haven't earned the Ineos out yet.
Nope, they have not.
Frank, what do you feel?
Sorry, Frank. I took up some of your time. I'm sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. It's your show, boys. Yeah, I think you guys are both right. It's going to take time, and the fans need to be patient. And at the end of the day, if he sounds like a Fortune 500 exec, it's because he is. It's because he is. Who just happens to be a football fan who got a chance to jump into his boyhood club. What one of us, if we had the money, wouldn't do it?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right? So
I would not buy Manchester United at all.
I would.
I would use that money to end world hunger. Or stop planes from falling out the sky. I don't know. Something that helps people.
Which I'm sure he probably does in another avenue or whatever. And I would do the same thing, Mikey. Absolutely. But I think patience. I think they're doing good business. The 𝗕𝙊𝙍𝙀 signing, the Lyon signing. If they can offload these freeloaders that we got, the problem with Casemiro is he's making Saudi money in Manchester,
Yep.
Yep.
right? He doesn't have to go and live under the conditions of being in Saudi Arabia. Um, you know, um, yeah, but I think we need to have some faith in Ineos. I think we need to be patient. Uh, I guess the summer transfer window is going to be the telling tale.
Crucial. So crucial.
Crucial, right? If by August they haven't signed anybody, and then it's just a desperation signing. And I go back to the year Moyes took over, and they signed Fellaini out of desperation. I
Yeah.
would have. They actually paid more than what they could have got him for at the beginning of the transfer window.
Oof. Yeah.
It was, I think it was £10 million more they paid for him because Everton knew you guys are desperate. Um, so I just, yeah, I like what he said. I think it was brave for him to come out in tumultuous times. Um, and just kind of, yeah, I'd like to see it once every 2 weeks. Everybody just cool your jets.
Cool out.
There's a process here in place, right? If a year from now, when Ineos has been here 2 years and Amorim's on a year and a half, we're still in 16th place. Okay, we've got some issues. He
Yeah.
admitted to the mistakes he made with Ten Hag and Ashworth. It takes a big man to go on, live with Gary Neville and say, "Yeah, we made a mistake." Not many people in his position do that nowadays.
I will say this: Man United's stock right now is at the lowest it's been since 2022.
Everybody's stock right now.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm down a lot right now, dude. It's killing me right now. But like, but yeah, it's just where it is, at United. But and if Frank, actually, I know you've got something you said that you wanted to do the show. Did you want to do it? Your shout out?
Shout outs?
Yeah.
I do. I want to shout out to my kids, Jacob,
Hey,
Jeremy, and Brenna. My buddy Bill Foys, who is a huge Manchester United fan. I would
shout
love for you guys to have him on because he's absolutely hilarious
for sure.
and can imitate anybody. And to my Mount Elizabeth High School Eagles soccer team that I coach. Um, Shout out to all you guys. Yeah,
Get your buddy in the chat.
I want to ask
I
you a
think
few
he's
questions,
probably
man.
watching actually. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to ask you a few questions because I feel like we didn't get anything on about you. You're a new guest. Once again, guys, we're trying to build a community here. We're doing the protest thing. We're everywhere, and we're having our people. Like, this is your show. This is not me and Sean's show. This is stateside, everybody, and the states, Canada, Mexico, wherever. So, I didn't know that you lived in Canada.
Oh yeah, way north, man, way
Do you
north.
want to give like maybe a general area of where you live? Not too much for the internet in
Yeah,
Canada.
so northwest British Columbia, like
Okay.
north. So Vancouver, if you were to drive from Vancouver to where I live, it's a 19-hour drive straight through.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, yeah, we're like well, we're close to the Alaskan border for sure. Um, yeah, so
Okay.
It's
like
cold out there.
you guys talk about flight prices.
Yeah.
Insane. Like insane. Small towns, the Walmart is in a town 45 minutes away from us. It shut down all our stores here where I live. Um,
Jeez.
Wow.
well, yeah, you can't even buy well, you can now. We got a furniture store again, but like you couldn't even buy a rice cooker where I live, 3, 4 months ago. I don't even know if you can now, but yeah, but so where I live, a huge industry, and so the smelter, which is probably going to give away where I live anyway, was built in the 50s. So you had all these immigrants just migrate to where I live, right? So at one time it was like 40% Portuguese, Italians, Greeks. So this little town of 13,000 at one time actually had 13 men's soccer teams, all different ethnic groups. So yeah, we had ex-pros that came because back in the day, I was actually coached as a youngster from a guy named John Correa who played for FC Porto from 55 to 58.
Okay.
Got his professional European coaching badges, but it was more lucrative for him to come here and work at a smelter, believe it or not.
Hmm.
Yeah, back in those days, yeah, you didn't get
Yeah,
paid anything to play football.
that's right. There was so little money in it, so huge soccer loving town. And like I said, I can remember back in the day where me and my friends had to pass VHS tapes, because that was the only way we could watch soccer matches,
Yeah.
like way back to Porto versus Peñarol in the Super Cup in Japan, and it was snowing, but you still watched it. Horrible football, you know what I mean? But you loved it so much, right? So yeah, ask away. Yep,
So is this same town you were born and raised in?
born and raised. So the paper mill I worked at shut down in 2010, so I moved to a city that's more north, but a little bit bigger, and then I moved to Vancouver Island for 2 years. But home is home. Um, so yeah, I had to come back. Great opportunity at the smelter. Good money allows me to afford a lifestyle for my family that most can't.
So I would say, and that's a beautiful thing all the time. It's always a beautiful thing. A man can provide for his family for
Yeah,
sure. And I'd say, so how do you fall in love? You're in this northern town in the most northern place in the world, the
yeah.
coldest place, one of the
Oh,
coldest places I've ever been. Canada, it's always cold. It
oh
seems
yeah.
like it's always cold. I used to be in Ottawa for a little bit, in
Oh, that's cold.
Calgary. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
a
yeah.
cousin in Calgary, and I don't know what the hell he's doing in Calgary. He's one of the only black guys I've ever seen in Calgary, but but he loves it out there. He loves it. It's very cold.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, bro. And but yeah. So how do you fall in love with Manchester United?
It was the biggest club. So when you think back, they only showed certain teams
Yep.
on television, right? And maybe if you guys let me on again, I'll dig up this old
Oh,
picture
you
of
can
me in
come on again.
1987, and I'm actually wearing the Manchester United. We won an indoor soccer tournament, and I'm wearing my Manchester United with the Sharp sponsorship. So Man United was like one of the only teams that you get. The Italian league was actually huge at the time,
Yeah.
massive. You know what I mean? It's where all the
Yep.
stars were going, and so yeah, so I just, you know what? And then it was Arsenal, wasn't a fan. Um, Man City, nah, not really. So I like the players. I
Right.
fell in love, I was a striker, so I fell in love with Dwight York. You know what I mean? Teddy Sheringham, Solskjaer, Sir Alex Ferguson. There was just things that he did that you absolutely, and you could tell he's one of those guys who just commanded respect, classy, you know. And it was like, oh, just the love of the game. And I loved Manchester United. They were just huge, right? So it was just there. They were the team that was there, and I got to watch them, got to know the team, the club, just fell in love with them.
Okay. I'd say favorite player all time.
Yeah.
Man United, favorite player all time?
Man United all time.
Ooh, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm gonna have to say Solskjaer.
Oh,
All,
okay.
all time.
Different. Okay.
All time. All time.
I've never heard anybody say that as their all time.
My
I,
favorite player of all time. Yes.
I thought it was Dennis Irwin.
Premier League. Yeah, Dennis Irwin, Premier League era. But yeah, all
Dennis
time
Irwin.
is definitely George Best. Just for the flair. Dude, if he hadn't gotten to alcohol, I think he. Hell,
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen highlights. Fantastic. But
Pele never really did it in Europe, did he?
no,
He
and it's
never
a
really did it against.
generational thing, right?
Yeah, it's a
Like
generational. Yeah.
my dad, who's 73, will swear that Pele is the best player ever.
My dad too. My dad loved Pele.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
For
great.
me,
Pele for me is great. And it's like the LeBron James, like Jordan, right, isn't it? Two different eras, two different types of basketball. You know what I mean? You can never
Yeah.
really compare them.
Game was different.
well, it's even
Game's
the
different.
Ronaldo Messi comparison, right?
I was gonna ask you that next. Ronaldo or Messi?
A lot of Portuguese people are probably going to kill me for this, but I choose Messi.
I choose Messi too.
The
I
only
choose Messi.
the only reason I choose and the only reason I do choose Ronaldo is because Ronaldo did it in the top leagues, whereas Messi only really did it in Barcelona.
I get that, but if you take Messi in his prime and you put him in the Premier League, like he spent his entire good playing days in Spain. He did play with
Beating
Xavi
Premier
and
League teams.
Iniesta, but when you look at the player themselves, like Messi is a naturally gifted footballer, right? Whereas Ronaldo is
He had to work.
a gifted athlete who probably would have been an excellent volleyball player or a basketball player, whatever he chose to ply his trade at, he probably been, and he works. I remember Sir Alex saying he was the first one at the training pitch and the last one to leave. So two different players, but if I needed a game changer to have on my squad, it would be Messi.
World Cup for me, baby. World Cup for me. Got to win the big one. You got to win it all. He's won it all.
Yeah.
He dragged his team to it. It wasn't like he was a passenger on that team. He dragged them against a France team who were the holders.
Yeah.
Who also have a superstar on their team and a bunch of great players, and he beat them. So I'm like,
yeah,
I got to give it to him there. I was with the Ronaldo train for the same reason that Sean is saying for a long time. Like Ronaldo did it in multiple leagues, and he's gonna be in this year's World Cup too. If he wins this one too, there's no doubt.
I just don't see Portugal winning it with him.
It's just I'm sorry.
Canada's gonna win it.
Germany, a German winning. Well, didn't they do better than the USA in the last tournament? Though,
sure did.
Oh, they played Belgium.
Yeah.
It was one of the best games I've ever watched, the way they played Belgium. Like, it was crazy. I was like, holy cow, like these guys. And then their coach screwed up by saying, fuck Croatia. And then all the pressure came onto Canada. And it's like, oh, man, how'd you just shut up and just let the boys play?
You went on like a 30-game run where you had beaten like every team you faced for the last 2 years.
Yeah, we had never beaten the United States and beat them twice in the same World Cup qualifier. Like, insane. He's got good success with national teams, John Herdman, but then he went to TFC and absolutely tanked. Like, I don't even, he's not even there anymore. Like, he lost his job after a year. But yeah, interesting. Canada played a hell of a game, but I think Portugal with Ronaldo, you got some young talent that you're holding back. I'd put a coach's jacket on him and just say be humble.
Facts.
Well, that's it from me. Any last thoughts?
No, man. I would, bro. You're gonna be on more. So just keep your phone on. You're great.
You guys are stuck with me now. You're my favorite Man United show on YouTube. And I'm not just saying that to blow smoke. It's why I started chatting with you, because I don't normally do this stuff.
How did you find us? That's all I would like to say. Like,
yeah, real quick, how did you
how
find
did
us?
you find us?
Because that helps us.
Algorithms, boys. So like, I start watching Alice Talks Football, Goldridge, United Stand, all this stuff, and then you guys popped up. And then there was a live one, and I just started watching. And then so I started commenting, and you guys were talking back, and I was like, this is what I'm looking for. Like, you guys are humble, down to earth, and thank you so much for having me on.
What?
Really
You think I'm humble? Thank you.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You're the only person that thinks Mike he's humble.
Well, we appreciate it, man. We're a growing channel, bro, but we got so much stuff in store. I'm hoping that maybe this summer we see you down in Atlanta. We got some things cooking in Atlanta. Maybe, I don't know.
Absolutely, I would love to be.
We got some stuff going on, and we want you to be a part of it. We want everybody to be a part of it, man.
Yeah.
It's going to cost me about $12,000 to fly down there, but
start driving. Start driving now.
It's not driving though. Yeah, no. All good. I would love that. I would absolutely love it.
Well, that's another episode of the Stateside Reds. Thanks, Mr. Green, Frankie, aka Mr. Green. And again, just like Frankie here, if anybody else wants to come on the show, we'd love to have you on. And we will see you tomorrow for those casual Reds. And then Mikey will be on Thursday to discuss whether we're going to play Lyon or whether we're going to be not playing any European football next.
Hold on real quick, Mr. Greens. I don't know if you're going to be on the rest of the week. Can we get a score prediction for you for Real Sociedad? And then we'll be done.
2-1 United.
That's what I say. I'm never going to go against this team to lose ever again.
I thought they were going to get killed in Spain. I really did. But then the Arsenal game gave me some hope. The last 25 minutes was fantastic. I don't mean to hold you guys on here, but you know what?
Go on.
Yeah, 2-1 United. I think they got this, and I think Obi scores the winner.
Oh, Obi he can't play.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yeah.
I take that back, but I do say 2-1 United.
Yeah.
Jeremy says, good to have you on today too, Casey.
Yeah, I keep saying Casey, man. Like, leave me alone, Jeremy. I'm sick. But again, we'll see everyone tomorrow for those casual Reds. Everybody else, peace out.
Take it easy.